G'day everyone. I've completed the Vendel era miniatures from Medbury Miniatures. Yeah, it took me longer than expected. If you've seen the previous videos, back problems still ongoing, and hopefully on the improve. Yeah, here they are, all done. The first 10 metal miniatures. I believe Andrew's planning to release more. I think there's some, yeah, well, you'll see if you follow his page on Facebook or his website, you'll be able to see what he's up to next. But here they are, done in my usual selection of well, sort of tones and colours that I feel appropriate for higher status warriors like these, which these guys would be. Being as they can afford, obviously, male shirts and nice helmets and even sort of decorative shields. So there will be stills at the end, so you can get hopefully a better look at them. Yeah. So you've got a mixture of, there's 5 with swords and 5 with the spears. Now I went for like a 50mm long spear rather than like a throwing spear, a shorter throwing style spear. This is more of a thrusting spear. So keep your enemy at arm's length at least. So yeah, tried to use colours that I felt were complementary. Now with these shields, I've used a lot of different sort of variants of leather colours. As you can see, from quite sort of yellowy orange to quite dark, like that one, almost a purplish brown, to quite reddish leather there. So here they are. Give them a bit of a twirl. The cloaks are great fun with the all the creases and the folds in them. They highlight up really nicely. The detail on these miniatures is excellent, nice and crisp with minimal cleanup. Go together well. There's just a couple of figures that need arms putting in, as I mentioned before, this one actually, Andrew commented that I'd put it in differently than he had it, like on his renders, his 3D renders. In those images, I think the sword arm might have been lowered, pointing down, and I didn't really look at that. I just thought, oh, this looks kind of cool. I'll get it to go up like that. So I've got him waving his sword like that. Quite like this miniature. I got like how that turned out. Yeah, with the spears, you will just need a small, like a little drill, like this, with a small drill bit, just to drill out the hands for the spears, which is actually how I prefer it to be. It gets a more realistic looking fit around the spear, and rather than those sort of claw hands you get where they just don't look as realistic. And yeah, anyway, that's just my preference. So yeah, the chainmail, as I've mentioned before, is very detailed and crisp. It's not hugely overly exaggerated or blocky or anything like that. It takes the paint really well. So with my figures, I usually go for the male is darker than the helmet. The helmet gets extra highlights, to be more of a polished metal, whereas the chainmail tended to be darker. And that's from observing like photos of reenactors and how they look after their equipment and stuff. You usually find that the chainmail is darker. It's sort of kept oiled, or however they take care of it. As you can see, like a different reddy colour. leather. Nice, nice cloaks, like I said. Nice to paint. And some interesting poses, like this guy coming up under his shield. Another really nice one. I've got so a mix of hair colours. There's some blondies. What was there? 3 blondies, 1 redhead, the rest sort of dark browns, and there's a couple you can't see their hair at all. I think there's about 3 that you can't see because it's got the full male over their face. So yeah, there's a couple of different types of greens I used. You can see the difference between, say, this one and that one. So I didn't just use the same greens. I used a grey blue. I think I used as a base the anthracite grey from Scale 75. There are a lot of other colours similar to that you can get from other manufacturers, and then just lighten it up with off-whites or ivories or deck tan from Vallejo. So I've used that on one of the cloaks and on this guy's tunic. Yeah, and different sort of leathers for the weapons and stuff. Some are just all painted up. Some are used. I've used ink glazing. I think this guy's sort of like the leader character. This guy here, maybe. Really nice figures to paint. It's got a bit of a yellow cloak going on. More of a rawhide sort of shield. I mean, you could paint these in a variety of colours, I suppose. You just have to work around it might be a bit difficult with some of them, like because you've got decorations, quite a lot of heavy decoration on some of them, but which is the limited finds we have. That does seem appropriate for the era, but I'm sure there were plainer leather shields as well. It's one of those things that doesn't necessarily survive. Not only were they expendable items on the battlefield, because they get smashed up, but they don't, because of the leather and the wood, they tend not to survive as well in the archaeological record, although we do have some examples. But apologies if it's a little bit out of focus. You'll get stills at the end to give you a better idea. Yeah, maybe that's a better focal point. I'll bring them forward a little for you. There's a few, yeah, there we go. We won't all fit in shot now. Ever the professional. Yeah, they won't all fit in shot. Anyway, you get a nice close-up of them. Very cool. Look, quality-wise, they're somewhere, they're like up there with, for me, with like the best of Colin Patton and Bill Thornhill's work in terms of the quality of the sculpting. And obviously it's done with a different medium. Sculpting medium is 3D sculpting, but the person who does the sculpting still got to know what they're about. Whether they're pushing green putty or they're pushing a Z brush or whatever it is on a screen, you still got to know what you're about, where to put creases and folds, and how weapons should look, how mail should look, how leggings and straps and things. There's still a great deal of skill involved, absolutely. And like I say, these are sculpted, I would say, up there with the best of, say, Bill Thornhill's work and Colin Patton's work in terms of looking appropriate for the period, and just really nice pieces of work. So there you go, guys. There's my thoughts and the finished miniatures, and I'll put the stills up at the end, like I usually try and do. And you can have a closer look at those if you want. Pause and have a bit of a look. Hopefully they'll look a bit clearer on those. So the plan is to send these back up to Andrew, and then if he wants to take any further photos, he can do that. And yeah. Oh, what was I going to say? Yes, because my camera setup, I don't have a fancy camera setup. I use my phone. I don't have anything fancy. I don't have a fancy studio or anything like that. None of those things. I don't even have one of those fang-dangled turntables a lot of you blokes out there on YouTube have. Anyway, it's all right. A black box, black filing box will do for the time being. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing these miniatures. If you're into Dark Ages at all, look, these are really worth a pickup from Medbury Miniatures, and a lovely addition to your collection. They should sit very well. They will sit very well right alongside the best of Colin Patton work and Bill Thornhills and many other manufacturers. So go out, do yourselves a favour and pick these up. I don't think you'll regret it at all. All right. Bye for now.